The rain in London didn't just fall, it judged. It washed over the grime of Southwark, turning the cobblestones into mirrors that reflected the neon sins of the city. Elias Thorne stood in the shadows of an abandoned textile warehouse, the collar of his charcoal overcoat turned up against the wind. He wasn't a man who enjoyed violence, but he was a man who lived by a very specific math. Debt plus time equals consequences. Inside the warehouse, the air smelled of wet wool and cheap cigarettes. 3 men stood around a wooden crate. In the center was Marcus Vane, a mid-level fixer who had made the mistake of thinking he could skim 10% off a shipment of encrypted hardware belonging to the Petrov family. "I don't have it, Elias," Vane stammered, his voice cracking. "The shipment was hijacked at the border. I'm a victim here." Elias stepped into the light. His face was a mask of calm, his eyes as cold as a Siberian winter. He didn't pull a gun. He simply pulled out a thin silver coin and rolled it across his knuckles. "Marcus," Elias said, his voice a low baritone. "The Petrovs don't believe in victims. They believe in ledgers. And right now, your page is written in red." One of Vane's bodyguards reached for a holster. He was fast, but Elias was a ghost. In one fluid motion, Elias stepped inside the man's reach, drove a palm into his chin, and swept his leg. The guard hit the floor with a dull thud. Before the second guard could react, Elias had a suppressed Glock 19 pressed against the man's temple. "Don't make this a mess," Elias whispered. "I hate cleaning my coat." 48 hours later, Elias was in a different world. The salt air of Marseille was a sharp contrast to the damp smog of London. He was sitting at a cafe overlooking the Old Port, sipping an espresso that tasted like burnt earth and ambition. He wasn't there for Marcus Vane anymore. Vane was accounted for. He was there for the man who had actually orchestrated the hijack, a ghost known only as Le Scorpion. His contact, a woman named Sophia, with a scar running through her left eyebrow and a reputation for selling secrets to the highest bidder, sat across from him. "You're hunting a shadow, Elias," Sophia said, lighting a cigarette. "Le Scorpion isn't just a man. It's a network. They control the digital infrastructure of the Mediterranean. If you touch them, the lights go out in half of France." "I'm not here to turn off the lights," Elias replied, sliding a folder across the table. "I'm here to burn the house down." "Where is the hardware?" Sophia leaned in, her voice dropping. "There is a gala tomorrow night at the Villa de l'Argent. The elite of the underworld will be there. The hardware is being auctioned as a security solution for a new cartel. If you want it, you'll need more than a gun. You'll need an invitation." The Villa de l'Argent sat on a cliffside, a white marble fortress overlooking the Mediterranean. It was a place where billionaires and butchers shook hands. Elias arrived in a bespoke tuxedo, looking every bit the venture capitalist he claimed to be on his forged credentials. His date for the evening was Julian, a world-class hacker he'd broken out of a Belgian prison 3 years prior. Julian was currently parked in a van 2 miles away, tapped into the villa's security feed. "Elias, you're in," Julian's voice crackled in his earpiece. "I've looped the cameras in the West Wing, but the vault uses a biometric pulse scanner. You have exactly 4 minutes before the guard rotation resets." Elias moved through the crowd with practiced ease.
"You see, Elias." Petrov's voice was smooth, coming from the hidden speakers in the ceiling. "A man of your talents is a liability when he knows too much. I didn't send you to Marseille to find the drive. I sent you here to be the scapegoat. When the French police find your body next to a stolen drive, the Petrov family remains clean, victims of a rogue operative." The vault doors slammed shut with a heavy, pressurized hiss. "Elias, the signal is being jammed!" Julian screamed over the comms. "I'm losing you! They're flooding the room with nitrogen! Get out of there!" Elias didn't panic. Panic was for men who didn't have a plan C. He looked at the biometric scanner. It required a pulse. He pulled out the silver coin he had shown Marcus Vane. It wasn't just a coin. It was a high-frequency EMP pulse generator disguised as a souvenir. He slammed it against the keypad and triggered the internal battery. The electronics screamed. Sparks showered the floor. The door didn't open, but the ventilation system stalled. He had 2 minutes of air left. He took a heavy oxygen tank from the emergency rack and used it as a battering ram against the reinforced glass of the display case. Crack! Crack! Shatter! He grabbed the Meridian drive. Now, he just had to get out of a cliffside fortress surrounded by 50 armed mercenaries.